Leaks for the Ahsoka show are starting to ramp up as we move closer and closer to the release date, and one of the most exciting leaks takes place within the World Between Worlds. Strap yourselves in for this one because it's all to do with Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Hello there.
Actually appearing in the series, and this is something we haven't heard too much about. However, needless to say, this will not go down well with everyone.
This is where it gets interesting.
We'll start off with looking at how these leaks fit into the overall Ahsoka show, why they make no sense in current Star Wars canon, even though they take place in the World Between Worlds, and what the end result will likely be on screen. Now, the Ahsoka show takes place approximately around 11 years after Return of the Jedi, around about the same time as the third season of The Mandalorian, and it's all set to pick up and expand upon the question that Ahsoka asked Morgan Elsbeth in The Mandalorian Season 2, where is Grand Admiral Thrawn? Now, in Season 3 of The Mandalorian, we explored Moff Gideon's side of the Empire, seemingly working independently from the rest of the Imperial remnants. To a degree, they helped each other now and again, with Gideon's side of the Empire much more focused on making him the new ruler in the galaxy. Whereas in Ahsoka, we're set to focus much more on the other side of the Empire, the side that's containing Project Necromancy and Grand Admiral Thrawn, the side which will eventually give rise to the First Order in many years to come. Now, unlike what we saw in the latest season of Mando, the New Republic this time around are far more concerned with the growing Imperial threat. And let's not forget, they've also got Din Djarin on their team now in their ranks, working with them on a case-by-case basis. Now, whilst all this mess is going on, Ahsoka, on the other hand, is still approaching things her own way, and she's effectively trying to bring back the Rebels crew to try and help the fight. We've already seen in some of the trailers that Hera is trying to plead with the New Republic to take this threat seriously, which of course they go on to do. But whilst all of this is going on, we're going to learn more about Ahsoka during this point in her life, her struggles, what haunts her and keeps her up at night, as we explore her past in ways never seen before in Star Wars live action, as she attempts to move forwards into a new beginning, but before she does that, she needs to confront her past, and Anakin Skywalker. Now, this is where the leaks play into the story. Now, as mentioned, whilst Ahsoka is trying to fight against the Empire, she's trying to locate Thrawn and Ezra before the Remnants do, which are seemingly being led by Morgan Elsbeth. Part of her journey leads her to enter the World Between Worlds once again, a realm spread across time and space where she views a variety of alternate realities, what-if scenarios effectively. If events transpired differently in her past, perhaps if she acted differently, would the outcome still be the same as it is now? What would have changed? Now, I'm not too sure what initially leads her to entering this portal, the World Between Worlds, but I have a suspicion it could have something to do with trying to save Ezra or locate Thrawn. Perhaps she thought she could pull him through the World Between Worlds just before he disappears, which is pretty similar to how Ezra saved Ahsoka when she had a fight with Vader in Rebels. Now, in this particular leak, in this particular moment in the show, if it does take place, it seems like Ahsoka's searching through all the different doorways through time and space, where she comes across a portal that us fans already know very well, and as she peers through, she witnesses the events of Obi-Wan and Anakin's duel on Mustafar during Revenge of the Sith. But the difference here is Obi-Wan isn't fighting Anakin alone, he's accompanied by Ahsoka. So this isn't something that happened in the past or in the future, this is an alternate timeline. Now, to me, this version of events could be the result of one of two things. Either Ahsoka never left the Jedi Order in this version, which would make Anakin's turn to the dark side slightly more questionable in itself, or Ahsoka returned to help Anakin when she sensed his fall. And I mean the fall to the dark side, not him falling down the lava plains. Regardless on the events that could lead to the moment of Obi-Wan and Ahsoka confronting Anakin together, she returned when he needed her. She went to help him in this alternate reality. We know Ahsoka felt Anakin's fall to the dark side when it took place, however she was pretty busy trying to survive Order 66 herself. Now, whilst we have heard a less detailed version of this leak before, it's actually this next part that really catches my attention, and it's all to do with Obi-Wan Kenobi's involvement in all of this. Now, in this version of events, Anakin actually kills Obi-Wan. How he goes around and does this, I'm not too sure, but you have to ask, why would he get the better of Obi-Wan when it's 2 against 1, but he couldn't when it was a 1-on-1, which what's happened originally? Now, I have actually got two theories for this. The first one being that Ahsoka perhaps makes a mistake in their fight, which leads to Obi-Wan to spring to her defense, leaves himself open, and Anakin strikes that fateful blow. Or perhaps it's purely psychological on Anakin's behalf. Perhaps when Anakin and Obi-Wan faced each other alone on Mustafar, even though Anakin believed he could take on his old master, psychologically he was yet to break free of the master-Padawan mentality that the two had. Originally, Anakin's own self-confidence, his desire to impress, led to his own downfall. Whereas if Ahsoka was present, that mindset might have been replaced with himself being the master in the duel, Ahsoka's master and more of Obi-Wan's equal, leading to him making more calculated decisions and subconsciously effectively still teaching her, which could then lead to him not becoming overconfident in his own abilities and being able to defeat Kenobi. Now, this all sounds pretty cool and I can't wait to see how it plays out. However, this is effectively a what-if scenario taking place within the World Between Worlds, so at the moment, right now, where we are with this leak, nothing would affect canon whatsoever. But it's actually after Anakin manages to strike down Obi-Wan that questions are raised. Now, as with the original leaks, this update also comes from Making Star Wars, where he specifically mentions that 2 alternate scenarios were shot with Kenobi involved. So effectively, they shot 2 versions of this Mustafar duel, or this section of the Mustafar duel, both with Obi-Wan already defeated. Now, one version shows us Obi-Wan's body lying motionless on the ground, whilst the other one shows a pile of Obi-Wan's robes lying there in place of his body, mimicking how he disappeared after Vader defeated him in A New Hope. Now, whilst I think this makes a great what-if scenario, giving many fans that are into fanfictions an official sneak peek into an alternate scenario within canon, the second version of Obi-Wan's death raises eyebrows, as it wasn't until after these events took place in Revenge of the Sith in the timeline that we ever heard of the concept of a Force ghost. Now, a disappearing body of a Force user has always been linked with their eventual return as a ghost, as seen during the original trilogy and the sequels, basically any point after Revenge of the Sith, but not before. None of the Jedi prior to Obi-Wan learning from Yoda at the end of Revenge of the Sith that Qui-Gon has returned from the Netherworld of the Force has ever disappeared after death. Not even Qui-Gon in Episode 1, his body remained. Now, this ability was way forgotten by the Jedi long ago and only recently learned by Qui-Gon before his passing. And later on, Qui-Gon would then learn how to pass this ability onto Yoda, who then informed Obi-Wan of it in Revenge of the Sith, right after his duel with Anakin when they go and take Luke to Lars homestead and Leia goes to Alderaan. Now, we do know that Obi-Wan, by the time of Episode 4, he does learn this ability, but not for at least another 10 years, as he had no contact with Qui-Gon between Revenge of the Sith and the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, and the gap there is around 10 years. Now, this means that there's no real explanation on why Obi-Wan's body would disappear during this alternate reality. Even if it is set between the World Between Worlds, this is an ability he is yet to learn. Now, Making Star Wars did go on to speculate and probably joke a little bit around the possibility of Obi-Wan's clothes being on the ground being left there as a marker for where the body should go, and in my opinion that would make better sense than actually just having a pile of clothes there in the finished product, and they could just look to digitally insert Kenobi in there during post-production. Perhaps the dummy used for the actual body wasn't believable enough. But now we have to look at the man in charge for it all, the one and only Dave Filoni. For all the positives he brings to Star Wars, he isn't a person who's afraid to change the established canon, so there is a possibility that just how and when Force ghosts become a thing in Star Wars is about to change. Or as I say, having Obi-Wan's body there physically didn't look great, and a lifelike dummy really wasn't the way they wanted to go, and they've explored a different path, or perhaps they're going to do it with CGI instead. Now, these leaks don't go on to mention that we will actually see Anakin defeat Obi-Wan, so perhaps we jump into that scene just after it happens, or perhaps we do see it unfold, which I think would be the better option. Now, for you to still be watching this video, it tells me you like a leak as well, but sometimes I do like to be surprised going into a show too, so maybe we'll have to wait and see how this one plays out. The leaker does state that this scene isn't likely to take up much time at all, probably just a few seconds, so with that being said, I wouldn't get too hooked on it, but it is nice to be in the know. Now, for there to be so much noise around Hayden Christensen returning in the Ahsoka show through leaks, and now for official confirmation with his new dialogue in the trailer, I highly doubt this little cutscene will be his only involvement. In fact, with the latest trailer with Anakin dialogue in there, it does sound like we're going to get a Clone Wars training flashback scene between him and Ahsoka, and possibly even Anakin returning as a Force ghost if you listen to the second part of the dialogue. But perhaps that's not all, as we do know they've gone through great lengths to bring Darth Vader into the Ahsoka show as well, all suited and booted. But I have a question for you. How involved do you think Anakin will be in the Ahsoka show? Let me know down in the comments. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you're new, leave a like if you enjoyed today's video. I'll catch you in the next one. May the Force be with you.